I'm going to try and be concise here. I'm hoping that we get enough on this where I can just use the audio as well, sort of like, a little podcast.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay. I love the photos you sent. They are fantastic. They're huge as far as sorry, everything's beeping here. We've got really high winds and our electricity is going crazy. So
I can put together a Google folder too if that's easier, if you need higher resolution.
I think those should be good, but any additional ones that you have, a Google folder would be great.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start with some of your background, everything from the highlights of, your biology degree, you're from Italy, and then the dogs are going to bark. And bad to the bone.
Yeah, sure. So I was originally born in Italy, northern Italy.
Hang on one second. Hang on.
Yeah, sure.
I can't hear you as well as when you first got on the phone.
Oh, hold on, just 1 second. Is that better?
No.
I think it's just the service here. Hold on, let me try it on the other side of the house. We're renting this house, and it's a beautiful place, but the cell service is not good.
Yeah, it's if you're on speaker, you're not close enough to the microphone.
No, I'm not on speaker. I'm actually on the phone because
Wow.
I know that.
There you are.
All right, is that better?
It was for a second. Well, let's just go with it. We can fix it.
Okay, sounds good.
So you're born in Italy.
Born in Italy, came to the States in the late 90s. I went to school for college in San Diego, and then I went to graduate school at the University of Virginia, where I earned my PhD in biology in, I think, 2002. I would have to look back, but I think that's right. Yeah, 2002. And then from there, I quickly switched career paths, and I met my partner, who was just starting a race production company, basically to direct running events. And just the idea of working outside and having my own business was extremely appealing. So that's what I decided to do instead of spending all my time in a lab, spending all my time outside and running my own business. So I do have a PhD in biology, but my first job is really in my own company. We really direct running events.
And these are marathons?
Yeah,
Are mixed.
They range from basically from a half marathon to 100 kilometers. So they are both road races and long distance trail races.
That's fabulous. And you're all over the place. I mean, you guys are all over the country. And do you do any international ones, or are you mostly across the U.S.?
Yeah, mostly across the U.S. We have done a lot here in Virginia, in Colorado, in California. We haven't done any international yet, but we know a lot of people, the folks that put on the Tour de Mont Blanc. So we have a lot of relationship. It's a small industry. We have a lot of relationship with those folks as well.
And it's called what? The company?
Oh, sorry. The race that I was talking about, it's a large event in Chamonix in France, and it's called the Ultra Tour du Mont Blanc. And that's one of the largest long distance races in the world.
Yeah. And your company is Bad to the Bone?
Bad to the Bone, correct. Yep.
And was there aside from it's a great statement, was there a reason for choosing that name?
I cannot take credit at all. Gil just came up with that name. He liked the song. He liked the name. He thought it would fit perfectly with, long distance. So that was really the reason behind it, was the... Hi, this is Francesca. Please leave a message. Here I am.
Okay, we're back. It wasn't bad. You had just finished saying that the name was really him. He was in, he was attracted to the song and the name, and it just fit.
Right. And it was just the mantra that if you do our events, you're bad to the bone. So that's why he was really attracted to the name.
That's fabulous. And you have some championships of your own, don't you?
Yeah, as far as running myself, I got into long distance running in the early 2000s or so, and I've done quite well in the longest races. I've never been attracted to road races. There are just too many people as far as, running them myself. So I run really to be alone in the woods, and that's what attracted me about the sport. So I am not fast, but I can eat for a long time, and I can hang on for a long time. So I think that's why I do well, because the longer you go, the more it becomes about strength and just endurance and just perseverance. So that's where I think I found a little bit more of a niche than just the faster marathon or shorter runs.
Mm-hmm. It looked like you took on your lavender field like its very own sport, the way you guys were doing it.
I know, nothing small, right?
Tell us about that. Especially starting with the soil and making the recipe that you did, and also how you were installing the mounds, because there was a lot of physical by hand.
Physical labor, yeah. So it really all started with purchasing the land. We had been we live in Charlottesville, which is a small town, so I can't say that we live in a city, but we lived in the middle of town, so it was more of an urban environment. And for us, we have a place in Colorado too, which is more in the middle of nowhere. And so when we are here, we were looking for a place that was more isolated and especially closer to the mountains. Charlottesville is maybe 20 minutes away from the mountains, so it's not very far, but we were really looking to be physically and spiritually just more connected to the mountains here with the Blue Ridge Mountains. So we started looking for either to sell our current house and either purchasing some land or a different house closer to the mountains a while ago. And we came on this opportunity to purchase this quite large piece of land very close to Crozet, which is the town close to the mountains here. And so we jumped on the opportunity because it was a very good price. So the building of the home kind of took second stage to doing the lavender, because I just wanted to do an agricultural endeavor on the land, and lavender just struck me, not just because of its beauty. It's absolutely gorgeous, but it's also, if you can find the right way to grow it here in a humid environment, it's also fairly low maintenance, and we have a huge deer issue here, so I didn't want to have to deal with vines having to do fences or anything like that. So lavender was something unique, not something that's grown a lot around here for obvious reasons, but also because there are not a lot of people who are doing it. And so that's how I came upon lavender. The land was perfect as far as the exposure to the sun. It was pointing to the south and east, so it was very good as far as the exposure to the sun. There was a beautiful knoll in the lower part of the land that would have been perfect for lavender, for Rosa lavender, where the water would have been draining really, really well. The only issue was the composition of the existing soil, which was mostly red and brown clay. We have a lot of clay here in Charlottesville. I had a little bit of sandy loam, not enough probably to plant plants, and then on the slope, some of the sandy loam had also migrated toward the lower portion of the slopes. So You're still there, right?
Yes, I'm here. Keep going.
Great,
This is great.
Wonderful. Just making sure.
Yes.
So, in order to create an environment that would have been conducive to the plants, we decided to do rows, and I started doing research on, the right soil composition. And of course, if you live in a drier environment, it's much easier. You till the ground, you put them in the ground, and you're done. But if you live in a place where there's clay on the ground that retains water, it's very hard. Apple trees love it, and vines really like it, but lavender does not like it at all. So I had to find, I started doing research on the composition, and I kept coming up with the gravel soil mixture. In the soil mixture, there was also sand involved. However, because any type of soil, like topsoil that you can purchase around here that's lower in clay, is always going to have some clay because it comes from the area. It's almost impossible to find soil that has no clay. And when you put clay and sand together, it's not good because it's, it just becomes almost concrete. So I settled on basically a garden soil that was low clay that I purchased locally, and limestone gravel on a composition about 40% limestone gravel, 60% soil. For some of the areas, I went more to a 50-50 mix just to increase some of the drainage. And we just decided to do rows. Initially, I decided to scrape the grass off because I was planning on tilling the ground. Now, realizing that by scraping it's not that I didn't realize it, I suspected it. But my point is, by scraping the grass off, I also scraped that layer of sandy loam. So all that I was left with was just brown clay. So for the next round, I will not need to scrape any of the grass off. I'll just lay the rows right on top of the grass, and that will give more of a buffer to the plants between my soil and the actual clay. As far as how we well, we have land, we have no bathrooms, we have no infrastructure, we have no water. There's a very nice neighbor who has a great well, so we were able to get water there. But as far as the infrastructure to the land, because we hadn't started building a structure yet, we had none. So we just used basically a quad with a trailer. I got the soil and got the gravel delivered into different piles. Then we would measure with buckets. We would throw the soil and the gravel in the back of the carts. Initially, we were even mixing it with the shovels for the first half of the rows or so. We were mixing it with the gravel, and then realized that by the time you get there and you throw it on the ground, you don't really need to mix it. You just put it together. You put one bucket of soil, one bucket of gravel, and you just keep doing that, filling the cart, and that's mixing enough. But anyway, then took each load of the cart to the road, and we probably did, I want to say 30 trips per rows. We have about 12 rows right now, so you can kind of do the math as far as the number of buckets and the number of trips and the back and forth. It was very laborious, very hard labor for sure. We planted the majority this past fall, and then some more plants, all from your wonderful nursery.
Thank you.
And some more from June, and they're all doing great. I have a little bit of, and the name is escaping me, the fungus, the name of the fungus.
I don't remember either, but I remember when that happened.
Right, so I have a little bit of that, so I need to replace a few of those smaller sections. Then we had another kind of issue at the end, at the beginning, when we wanted to plant our summer plants. I had always gotten the soil from one supplier, And when the soil arrived, it was basically just clay. It was just hard clay. So we tried to lay one row, which was a mistake. I should have just immediately searched for a new supplier. We laid one row with that soil, and those plants haven't done well because there's just too much clay in there. So then, in the meantime, realizing that soil was just not right, I found a new supplier, and their garden soil is absolutely beautiful. It's just fluffy, so there's very little clay in it. So all the other rows were laid with the soil from the new supplier, and all those plants are doing great. And now that spring is coming, we're going to replace those few sections where there's a little bit of that fungus, and then plant new plants once we replace the soil in there.
And you had your
story.
That was an event for you guys. I loved going on it with you and having the little videos and photos coming in. That's always so great. You also had your first harvest this past spring, or June.
Yeah, this past June, I went to City Market. My first City Market on June 18th did really well. I should have counted exactly the bunches. I didn't. How many bunches I got, but I had enough to sell all summer, and then I still have about 40 I just gave to you. I probably have another 40-50 dry bunches that I just dried. So I had quite a bit. So I am right now developing a network of wholesale and direct sales. So when the summer comes along, I will hopefully be able to sell all the crop or most of the crop very quickly. I'm actually also planning the Lavender Fields Festival.
Oh, good for you!
We'll have a little 5K. I'm planning on just, like a food truck, just something. Hopefully the build will be a little bit more along, so we'll have power, we'll have water. But just put out some picnic tables, just a place for people to spend morning, afternoon, and enjoy. And I'm hoping that will bring quite a few people. We're lucky because we have a park, just a county park right next door to us. So since we don't have any infrastructure at the farm yet, we're able to park people at the park. They can come to the farm, do the 5K, enjoy the day, buy some flowers, and then leave. So that's the plan.
That is really great, because parking and bathrooms and all of that is always a big concern.
Sure, exactly.
Having enough parking. I mean, right now, my new farm, I have got to redo a lot just to have parking. I mean, it's a whole new design, but I've always been hesitant about doing any kind of an event here or the other farm, because parking was an issue. Yeah.
And you wish you could just park people in the grass, but if it's dry, you can. But if it's really wet, it just becomes a nightmare.
Exactly. You never know what you're going to get.
Exactly.
So you were. I remember taking them originally. You had some florists. I remember when you went to the market, and that's exciting. It's really great to hear that you had such a bit, good turnout with your sales for the.
Yeah, I am trying all avenues. I am not a very social person, so
I can relate.
Of just sitting out there with my straw hat every day and just welcoming people is not my idea of fun.
Right, me too.
So I am developing a network of florists that work with weddings, florists that just sell it. So, at 20 bunches here, 20 bunches there, and then the direct sale at the farm, which I'm happy to do with the festivals or with specific days. Just having the more options that we're having, and then everything that you're working on, the more options that we're having, I think the better it will be.
Yeah. Let me go and so what is your plan, or what do you see over the next 3 years? Your vision for the business?
Yeah. So we are building not just a house, but also a storage barn where I'm hoping to be able to do some of this, the drying of the lavender, maybe some of the direct sales can be done out of the barns too. So I don't want to just eliminate direct sales because I think it's a good source of revenue. I would like to explore some lavender extracts too. I'm not sure I'm ready even in the next 3 years to do a whole bunch of extra products like soaps or things like that. So I would rather focus on the bunches. I found some wonderful satchels that I can use for the dry buds, fall sales and things like that. So as the three or four source of revenue, I would like to have the bunches, the fresh and dried for the fall, the satchels, maybe do some exploration of extracting smaller quantities of the oil and sell that. But I would just focus on those resale items. I am planning on having bees on the land,
awesome.
So making some lavender honey.
That's great. How are the Royal Velvet? Huh?
Go ahead. Sorry. That's it. Go ahead.
How are the Royal Velvet doing?
You're doing well. I lost a few in that clay row, but the ones that were not in the clay row are doing quite well.
That's wonderful, and they actually are an early bloomer. They will hear the ones I had in my other field, which it's heartbreaking. I had to leave it all behind.
Yeah.
And then the new owner plowed it all down, so it's all done. Wow. So it's like I don't even like going by there anymore. But they started blooming in May.
Wow.
And then they kept on having blooms throughout the summer, and I was so impressed. Yeah, they were, and so they were lots of fun. They didn't have a big bloom the first. I put them in the fall, and then this past spring was when I saw them in 22, and I was very excited about their potential. So. I had forgotten that you had some, so that's good to hear. It does, you can lose a few, it's okay. But if the ones that are in the right field right soil are doing well, that's great. That's great.
Right.
Oh, that's awesome. Any words of advice or anything to say to somebody that's considering getting into this?
I found it as a first time, I've dabbled with farming. When I was a kid, my dad had trees and things like that, but I can't consider myself an experienced farmer. So as a first time farmer, I found it very rewarding and low maintenance. It's definitely not something you have to spray. You have to continually prune, like fruit trees or anything like that. So I think for somebody who wants to get into farming, but maybe does not have the time to stay on top of the crop, every day or every month, I think it's a wonderful way to start. It takes a lot of research as far as soil and where you are and how to care for the plants and all that. But that's true for any type of farming. I have really enjoyed it. I think it's a wonderful crop to grow. The distribution part is a little bit more challenging because, like you and I were talking about, there isn't an established network. So I would probably suggest to anybody who's thinking about getting a large scale, if you're just doing it as an agritourism venue, then it's different. But if you're growing lavender like I am, trying to actually sell large amounts of lavender, then establishing a network of places where you can't sell it is definitely key.
Yes, it is. It is. I think I was hearing birds at where you are.
I am outside. Yeah. I am outside because of cell service. It's a little bit better.
That sounds lovely. Yeah. Well, your entrepreneurial personality. I mean, everything you've done is entrepreneurial, and your approach to the lavender has been fabulous to work with and partner with, really. I mean, when we have our conversations or our ongoing emails back and forth, it's so invigorating because you do have a real scientific approach to it. When I was looking at the soil and we were trying to figure these things out, and it's just been great. It's been great. And some people may not be as interested in that part of it, which is fine. People are interested in different things. The agritourism is a great way to have a constant stream of customers. And so what you're doing, with your location, I'm glad to hear you're going to do an event. I just think that's so wonderful, just because I think that what's going to happen is it could turn into something that's quite big on an annual basis, because you really are the only lavender farm in the area. The other one that I know of in Virginia are far away from you, so you've got a great piece of the market there.
Exactly.
And through that you get the wholesale customers that are the wedding people and everybody.
Everybody, right, exactly.
Now, you do not have a website or your Facebook or anything yet.
Listen, Gigi. So we have 6 events.
Yes.
I manage 6 websites for each event.
Yes.
Not to mention, they all have Facebook pages and
right, I understand.
And Instagram pages. It's a nightmare. I mean, the social media day comes around, and
Yes.
I run out of ideas for things to say.
What I would suggest to anyone is have you bought your URL for your Orso Blue?
I have the URL. We have a Facebook page, and I'm on Google Maps. So
well, very good. So you're on the map.
Yes, I am on the map. I am working. I'm adding Instagram this week, and then I'm gonna start working on the website for the summer.
Well, the thing is, with the Google, you have a free business page or website with Google, and you can redirect your URL so it all goes to Google so you only have to do one for now. And that way, I'll Google you and see. I mean, as long as people can find your contact information.
Exactly.
That's all. It's how to contact you. You don't have to have all the products or all that, but you've got such gorgeous photos. And what is that? You said, I think it was a friend of yours took that famous photo when your field was blooming this last year.
Yeah, Dawn did. Right, Dawn did. She came by and she just took a photo at sunset. Correct. Yeah.
It is gorgeous.
It is a pretty photo. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll have you in the directory, and I mean, they'll find you there, and they can find you on the lavenderexchange.com. And and then as you get at least you're on Google. That's good. And you own your URL. Explain what Orso Blue means for us, please.
Orso Blue means blue bear in Italian. I love bears. There are a lot of bears around here. We didn't want to call it, because we're in the Blue Ridge Mountains, we didn't want to call it black bear, so we thought that blue bear was perfect. It was just, it's close to Blue Ridge Mountains, and there's a hint of Italy, which never hurts.
Say that
anything.
Again. It got muffled. It's what?
There's a hint of Italy, which always helps. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's lovely. Well, I think that's pretty valuable, everything you've shared. And look at that, we kept it at like 30 minutes.